Imagine this. 20,000 years ago, a howling wind rips across a frozen tundra somewhere in Ice Age Europe. The temperature sits well below zero. There are no trees for miles, just endless white. And standing in the middle of it is a creature with no fur, no thick hide, only bare, exposed skin. That creature is a human. By every rule modern science uses to predict survival, that person should be dead within hours. Here's the problem nobody tells you about our own species. Underneath the furs and the fire and the caves, humans are, biologically speaking, tropical animals, built to release heat, not trap it. So here's the mystery worth sitting with. How did a naked, heat-dissipating primate not only survive the brutal winters of the Ice Age, but spread across the coldest regions on Earth and thrive there for thousands of years? The lazy answer is they just toughened up. But that collapses the moment you look at human biology, because toughness alone doesn't stop hypothermia. The real answer involves a chain of discoveries so clever that some of them are still keeping you alive in your house right now without you ever realizing it. Let's start with the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Humans didn't just fail to evolve fur for the cold. At some point in our evolutionary history, we actively lost the thick body hair our primate ancestors had because early humans needed to run long distances hunting prey under the scorching African sun, and sweating through bare skin was a far more efficient cooling system than panting through fur the way most mammals do. Evolution built us to survive heat by stripping away our natural winter coat. Which means when our ancestors pushed north into Ice Age Europe and Asia, they carried a body built for the opposite climate they were walking into. But here's where things get strange, because the first tool that solved this problem wasn't clothing, it was fire. Evidence of controlled fire use stretches back roughly 1,000,000 years, long before modern humans even existed, found in places like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. Once early humans mastered it, fire became something extraordinary. Not just warmth, but what scientists sometimes call an external metabolism, a way of generating heat completely outside the human body, on demand whenever it was needed. Long before humans understood a single principle of physics, we had already discovered how to outsource our own body heat to a small, portable sun. That should have solved the problem, and yet it didn't. Not completely, because fire only helps you while you're sitting next to it. What happens when you have to walk for hours across open, frozen ground to hunt? What happens at night, away from the flames, when temperatures crash further? Fire alone couldn't be the whole answer, and this is exactly where the real surprise begins. Deep in a cave in Siberia called Denisova Cave, archaeologists uncovered something almost unbelievably small to have changed the course of human survival. A needle, carved from bone, with a tiny eye threaded through one end, dating back roughly 50,000 years. That single object represents an enormous leap. Wrapping yourself in a loose animal hide keeps some heat in, but it leaves gaps everywhere, at the neck, wrists, and ankles, exactly where your body loses heat fastest. A needle means tailored clothing, fitted sleeves, sealed seams, the difference between draping fur over your shoulders and wearing an actual engineered cold weather suit. But here's the twist that genuinely surprised scientists, and it didn't come from archaeology at all. It came from lice. Researchers studying the genetics of human body louse, the kind living specifically in clothing rather than on skin or in hair, discovered that this species diverged from head louse roughly 170,000 years ago. Since body louse can only survive in fabric, that divergence timestamp works like a hidden biological receipt, proving humans wore clothing tens of thousands of years earlier than any physical needle or scrap of ancient fabric has ever been found. Think about that. The proof that saved our species from freezing to death wasn't sitting in a museum case. It was hiding, this entire time, inside the DNA of a parasite. So now we have fire, and now we have clothing, but what happened when the temperature dropped so low that neither was enough? This is where ancient humans did something that sounds almost impossible without metal tools, wood, or stone quarries. In what is now Ukraine, archaeologists uncovered dwellings built roughly 15,000 years ago, constructed almost entirely from mammoth bones. Skulls stacked as foundation, massive tusks curved into archways, the whole structure likely covered in hides, creating a windproof shelter in a landscape with almost no trees to build from. Imagine standing at the entrance of your home, and instead of wood or brick, the doorway arching above you is made from the curved tusk of an animal larger than a modern elephant. Ancient humans didn't wait for the perfect building material to survive winter. They built their walls out of whatever the Ice Age itself was willing to give them. But shelter and clothing solve the problem of losing heat. They don't solve the deeper question of generating it. And that's where the real surprise shifts from archaeology into biology itself. To survive extreme cold, your body needs enormous amounts of fuel, and not just any fuel, fat. Specifically, animal fat, and its stores of calorie-dense energy is what keeps your internal furnace burning through brutal winters. This is precisely why Ice Age hunters didn't just chase any prey. They specifically prized fatty animals like mammoths and seals, sometimes prioritizing the fat itself over the meat entirely. Among some Arctic peoples today, that same instinct still survives as an old saying: fat is life. It isn't poetry, it's physiology. Here's the part that should genuinely blow your mind. Humans, including you right now, carry a special type of fat called brown fat, and it doesn't work like ordinary body fat at all. Regular fat stores energy. Brown fat burns energy directly to generate raw heat, a process scientists call non-shivering thermogenesis. Babies are born with substantial amounts of it, part of why infants can maintain body heat despite such tiny bodies. Adults retain smaller amounts, and here's the strange part. Some research suggests people regularly exposed to cold environments can actually develop more of it over time. Your own body may still carry a faint, dormant echo of the exact same survival tool that helped Ice Age humans outlast entire glacial winters. But biology didn't stop at fat. It also appears to have reshaped the human body itself. Neanderthals, who thrived across Ice Age Europe for hundreds of thousands of years, had noticeably stockier builds than modern humans. Shorter limbs, wider torsos, and larger nasal cavities to warm freezing air before it reached their lungs. This lines up with a well-documented biological principle. Compact bodies lose heat slowly than long, narrow ones, since they have less exposed surface area relative to their size. Modern humans of Eurasian descent carry small fragments of Neanderthal DNA today, inherited through interbreeding tens of thousands of years ago, including gene variants linked to fat regulation and cold tolerance. Some of the biological toolkit that helped our extinct cousins survive brutal winters may still be quietly running inside people alive today. So let's pull this together, because underneath fire, clothing, mammoth-bone architecture, fat-rich diets, and inherited biology, there's one final layer that's easy to miss. Survival wasn't only physical, it was deeply social. Huddling for warmth isn't just comforting, it's mathematically effective, since bodies pressed together dramatically reduce total heat loss compared to sleeping alone. The nightly fire wasn't just a heat source, it was the literal center of the group, the one place everyone needed to be together to physically survive until morning. Ancient winter didn't just test the human body, it quietly forced human beings to become one of the most cooperative species on the planet, because in weather that could kill a lone individual within a single night, isolation itself became a form of death sentence. And here's the twist that brings this straight into your own life. Every one of those ancient survival strategies still exists around you right now, just wearing modern disguises. Your central heating is a fire that never has to be rebuilt. Your winter jacket is a direct descendant of that 50,000-year-old bone needle. Your craving for rich, warm comfort food the moment temperatures drop echoes the exact same fat-seeking hunger that once meant the difference between living and dying on a frozen plain. We tend to imagine our ancestors as fragile, helpless against nature, waiting anxiously for modern civilization to rescue them. But the truth is almost the opposite. Ice Age humans were among the most resourceful problem solvers this planet has ever produced, engineering fire, tools, architecture, and even social behavior itself, all to overcome a body that biology had never actually designed for snow. That, in the end, might be the real story of our species. We were never the strongest animal or the best insulated or the most naturally suited to the harshest environments on Earth. What we had instead was the relentless refusal to simply accept the conditions we were born into. So, the next time winter wind hits your face and you instinctively pull your jacket tighter, remember what that small, automatic reflex actually is. It's not weakness. It's the oldest surviving strategy our species ever built, still running quietly inside you, exactly the way it kept an entire species alive through an age of ice.